Today, we're going to talk about the core email flows every e-commerce brand needs to have. You've probably heard before that to get more email revenue, you need to send more campaigns. But if you want to take some pressure off your campaigns, automate up to 25% of your total Shopify revenue, personalize every customer's experience, and recover lost sales, then the flows we're going to cover in this video are a must-have. So let's dive in. As for me, I'm Mike. Here you can find more info about me and my contact details if you want to get in touch. And I've also included the exact document we'll cover in the video down in the description. So feel free to grab it, use it, tweak it. It's basically all yours. Okay, here is a quick look of what's inside and what we'll cover in this video. So we're going to break down what email flows actually are, why they matter for your business, the core flows every e-commerce brand should have, a deep dive into the welcome flow, the browse abandonment flow, abandonment cart versus abandoned checkout flows, the post-purchase flows, and finally how to optimize your flows over time with A/B testing. So let's get into it. Okay, so what are email flows? Email flows are a series of automated emails that go out after a customer takes a specific action like abandoning their cart or signing up for a newsletter. Once they're set up, they run in the background and get triggered every time that action happens. For example, if you set up an abandoned cart flow, it will automatically send emails every time someone abandons their cart without you having to lift a finger. So they run on their own. Campaigns, on the other hand, are one-time emails you send manually to your list, like a holiday promotion or product launch announcement. The key difference is that flows are behavior-driven and always running, while campaigns only go out when you decide. I hope this clarifies the difference between flows and campaigns, as I still see some people struggling to distinguish between them. Now next, let's take a look at why you actually need flows for your online store. Okay, so email flows are essential for two reasons. They bring in more revenue but also improve the customer experience. So instead of sending the same message to everyone, the flows let you personalize the communication based on where a customer is in their journey. Therefore, the flows not only increase the conversions but also build stronger relationships with the customers, leading to repeat purchases and long-term loyalty. In short, they bring in money for your business. Now that you know what flows are, how they differ from campaigns, and why your store needs them, let's talk about which flows you actually need. First, what are flows? When it comes to flows, there are endless advanced automations you could build, but the truth is that the majority of results come from nailing the basics. Instead of overcomplicating things, the smartest approach is to start with the core flows, the ones that drive the biggest impact right away. So if you set up and optimize these, you've already covered the most critical points of the customer journey. So in fact, about 80% of the revenue from flows comes from these core automations alone. Once they're running smoothly and delivering results, you can then layer on more advanced flows like replenishment or VIP flows to squeeze out extra revenue and further personalize the experience. So the core flows I'm talking about are the browse abandonment flow, which is 4 to 5 emails, the welcome flow, which is 7 to 8, abandoned cart flow 6 to 7, abandoned checkout flow 6 to 7 again, the post-purchase placed order flow, which is 2 emails, and post-purchase order fulfilled flow, which is 5 emails. So next we'll take a closer look at each one, starting with the welcome flow. So what is the welcome flow? So the welcome flow is the automated sequence of emails that gets sent right after someone joins your email list. So usually by signing up through a pop-up form. And here's the thing, your pop-up form and your welcome flow are tied together. If the pop-up underperforms, the welcome flow will too. So that's why having a high converting pop-up form is crucial, not just for the success of your welcome flow, but for your email marketing overall. If you want tips on building a high converting pop-up, check out my other video. I'll link it to you down in the description. So anyways, the welcome flow is often the very first interaction a new subscriber has with your brand in the inbox, and that means it sets the tone for the entire relationship. So why is it important to have one? In 2025, the market is more crowded than ever, and on top of that, the customers are becoming increasingly difficult to convert. So most shoppers now require multiple touch points before they can trust your brand enough to make a purchase. And the truth is, if your entire strategy relies on pouring money into paid ads to drive that first sale, you are overspending and you're basically missing out on a huge opportunity. So this is where a high performing welcome flow comes in. When done right, and when you pair a well-built welcome flow with a solid pop-up, you can capture some of those website visitors and start nurturing them at a fraction of the cost of ads. So that means you're converting more of the traffic you've already paid for. And this image basically shows that and shows how it works. So instead of losing visitors who don't buy right away, the pop-up captures them, and then the welcome flow starts building trust through automated emails. So this means that even if someone isn't ready to purchase on the first visit, you're not letting that traffic go to waste. So you're nurturing them, staying top of mind, and guiding them toward becoming a customer, all without spending extra on ads. So in short, a well-optimized welcome flow lowers your customer acquisition costs and boosts your profitability. So now that you see the impact, let's dive on how to build a high converting welcome flow. Okay. So before we dive into each email, I want to point out that every brand is different and there's no cookie cutter approach when it comes to the welcome flow. But for the sake of this example, here's a fundamental welcome flow structure that performs really well and can work for almost any brand. Okay, so email 1, the goal of this email is simple. So give a quick intro to your brand and immediately deliver what they came for. So the incentive. Now remember, in this email, most people are here for the discount. So what should you include in it? So first, deliver the incentive. Next, briefly introduce the brand. Add some risk reversals like a money back guarantee, a warranty, or even a free trial, anything that basically reduces hesitation. Show off some social proof if you have it. Highlight a few bestsellers or best-selling categories. And if you offer it, mention real-time support. So also keep in mind that your subscribers' interest is highest in the first 24 hours. So that's when they're most excited. So we want to take full advantage of that. And if someone doesn't open the first email, we'll just basically resend it. Okay, so in email 2, the goal of this email is simple. So introduce your subscribers to the brand and share your mission and values. This email should build trust by showing the human side of your brand. Because at the end of the day, people prefer buying from people, not faceless businesses. So what should you include in it? First, clearly answer the question, why do we exist? Your message should make readers feel like your brand was created specifically for them, that you understand their struggles and you've built the solution. Next, avoid sounding like just another option. Instead, make it crystal clear what sets your brand apart and why that difference actually matters. And finally, don't forget to include the incentive here too. Okay, the goal of the third email is basically to build trust. You want your subscribers to feel confident about making a purchase. So what should you include in it? 1 to 3 strong reviews are needed, testimonials, media features, or even industry awards. Basically anything that proves you're a real brand people can trust. But here's the thing, don't just throw any reviews, pick the ones that really speak to your customers' pain points. So show that you understand their struggles and that your product actually solves them. And of course, don't forget to include the incentive here as well. Okay, now in email 4, this is the problem solution email, and the goal is pretty simple again. Just highlight your subscribers' pain points and then position your product as the solution. So here's how to do it. First, speak directly to a core pain point or frustration your audience feels. Next, create a sense of urgency, so make them feel why this problem needs to be solved now. Then introduce your product as the clear, trusted solution. But don't stop there. You also want to build credibility to overcome any skepticism. So you can do this by adding things like a quick testimonial, trust badges or review stats, a short customer quote, or even an expert endorsement, or a simple before and after image. And of course, don't forget to include the incentive here too. Now, if you're in fashion, home decor, or another space where your product doesn't really solve a big pain point, the bestseller email works better than the problem solution email. It's especially useful if you have a wide range of products and customers might feel overwhelmed by too many choices. So the goal here is simple, just highlight your best-selling products. Because here's the truth, consumers love options, but too many choices can freeze them. So instead, we want to simplify their decision by pointing them to the top picks. And while you're at it, take the opportunity to show why those bestsellers stand out. So in terms of content, here's what to include. So highlight your top products to guide the customer, explain what makes those bestsellers special, reinforce trust by showing that others love these picks too, and of course, don't forget to include the incentive. Okay, so now in email 5, this is the us versus them email, and the goal here is to address the obvious. So your customers are comparing you to your competitors. So the big question is, why should they choose you? So people value transparency. They want to see the pros and cons so they can make an informed decision. So that's exactly what this email does. It gives your subscribers the clarity they need to confidently choose your brand over the alternatives. So what you need to include here is, first, acknowledge the competition. Don't pretend they don't exist. Next, position your brand's strengths. Highlight 2 to 3 key USPs, the things that basically make you truly stand out. And optionally, add a comparison chart. So you versus generic brands, it's simple but really effective. And finally, remind them of their discount or incentive. Okay, email 6, this is the last chance email. By this point, your subscriber already has most of the info they need to make a purchase. So many of them are probably interested, they're just waiting for the right moment. So that's why this email is all about urgency. It's basically the final nudge. So use it as a last push by reminding them to grab their discount before it's gone. So here's what to include. Remind them of the discount. Create urgency, make it clear this offer won't last. Keep your message short, clear, and to the point. And finally, offer quick support if they still have any questions. Now, email 7, this is the plain text check-in email, and this is the final one in the sequence. So at this point, your subscribers have already received several design-heavy emails. So now we switch it up with something different. So it's a plain text message that feels personal, like a real check-in. The tone here should be casual and conversational, almost like you're sending them a quick note. So in this email, you want to offer help and support, so let them know they can reply directly if they have any questions. Add a unique limited time incentive. This could be a different offer, a slightly bigger discount, or even just extending the original one for another 24 hours. And most importantly, drive urgency since this is their last chance. This email feels less like marketing and more like a genuine outreach, which makes it a powerful final touch in your welcome flow. And basically that wraps up the structure of the welcome flow. But we are not done yet. Now let's go over a few non-negotiables. So these are the must-haves that guarantee your welcome flow works as well as it possibly can. So make the most of email 1. So this is your highest intent moment. So across every brand we've worked with or audited, the first email consistently outperforms the rest. It's your best shot at making a strong first impression, so test and optimize this one relentlessly and nail your offer. The incentive you give your first time buyers can make or break your conversion rate. So choose an offer that actually matters to your audience. Add urgency toward the end of the sequence. Add time pressure in the final email or 2. A limited time discount is often the nudge people need to finally buy. So just don't rely on static codes like welcome 10. Customers know they don't expire. Use dynamic discount codes instead to create actual time pressure and increase conversions. So finally, to bring it all together, let's check out some real welcome flow email examples. Here's an example of the first email. As you can see, the incentive and call to action are placed right at the top. So that's exactly what we want because you don't want customers scrolling just to find the discount or the button. The key is to remove as much friction as possible. So remember, most people are here for the discount and a lot of them won't read the full email. So next, in the body, they include a quick brand introduction. So a short, simple, and straight to the point. They also highlight some of their best-selling bundlers. That's a smart move because bundles will help increase the average order value. Overall, it's a really strong email. Next, we have a great example. This one's from DuraDry. And it works really well for a few reasons. So first, it clearly answers the big question, why do we exist? Second, it basically builds trust through transparency. So Jack doesn't just say our product is great. Instead, he points out what's wrong with the alternatives and then explains how DuraDry solves the problem differently. Third, it defines what makes DuraDry stand out. So it positions them not as just another deodorant brand, but as a solution with purpose and care. Overall, it is a pretty solid second email that hits all the right points. Okay, and lastly, we've got this email from Frownies, which is a perfect example of using social proof. So right away, it features several testimonials, but these aren't just generic reviews, they speak directly to key pain points. So the email also includes before and after photos, which are always super effective. They give visual proof that the product works and instantly helps build trust with the reader. So overall, this email does a great job of combining social proof, urgency, and a clear incentive all in one. Now, if you want to see more examples like this, I've put together another video along with a document you can download inside. You'll also find a bunch of subject lines you can use for your welcome emails. So go check them out if you want more in-depth strategies and inspirations. Okay, next we're going to dive into another super important flow. This is the browse abandonment flow. Okay, so what's the browse abandonment flow? Now, a browse abandonment flow is an automated sequence of emails that gets triggered when someone views products on your website but leaves without adding anything to their cart. Okay, why is it important? Now, the truth here is most shoppers who land on your site aren't going to buy right away. A lot of them will check out a product, get distracted, and then leave without taking any action. And if you don't follow up, that interest just disappears. So that's where a well-optimized browse abandonment flow comes in. It re-engages those window shoppers by reminding them of what they looked at and showing them what it's worth buying. The goal is simple, so bring them back to the product they left behind or guide them towards something else they'll love. Alright, let's now take a look at the structure of the browse abandonment flow. So as we already discussed, this flow gets triggered when someone views a product but doesn't add it to the cart or move any further. Email 1 is basically the product reminder. So the goal here is simple. So we need to remind them of what they looked at and get them interested enough to come back to your site. So here's what it actually includes. First, show them the exact product they viewed. So use a dynamic product block so the email automatically pulls in the right item. Next, just showing the product might not be enough for everyone, so add a little soft reinforcement like free shipping, easy returns, or a quick benefit that makes buying feel risk-free. And finally, highlight a few of your best sellers. These work as a smart fallback in case the person isn't interested in the original product anymore. So it still gives them another path to purchase. So just keep it simple, keep it relevant, and that's what makes this first email so effective. Okay, now email 2, this is building trust, and the goal of this email is to remind them of the product again, but this time also reassure them that it's safe and worth buying from you. So here's what to include. First, just like before, use a dynamic product block to show the exact item they viewed. So keep that front and center. Next, add some social proof. So this could be reviews, testimonials, or even user-generated content. So anything that shows real people love your product. Then include risk reversals, so highlight things like easy returns, money back guarantees, or anything else that lowers hesitation. And finally, point out your unique selling points. So that could be fast shipping, high quality materials, or even your brand values. So this email is all about making them feel confident and safe about hitting that buy button. Okay, email 3, this is social proof, and the goal here is to remind them of the product once again, but this time lean heavily on reviews and testimonials to build even more trust. So here's what to include. First, just like in the previous emails, use a dynamic product block so they see the exact item they were checking out. Next, load this email with social proof, so that could be reviews, testimonials, or even user-generated content. The more relevant it is to their solution, the better. And finally, highlight a few of your best sellers. Like we've talked about before, if they're no longer interested in the product they browsed, showing your top products gives them another chance to find something they love. So this email is all about trust and reassurance, giving them that little push to come back and buy with confidence. As for the fourth email, now this is where we split the flow between two groups, your existing customers and the people who've never purchased before. So here's why for the first time visitors who haven't bought yet, you want to give them a small incentive to make that first order. But for existing customers, we don't want to keep discounting, so they already know and trust your brand. So email 4 for your existing customers should be super simple. A plain text reminder, ideally from the founder or customer support, just checking in and offering help if they need it. So it's short, it's personal, and it's surprisingly effective. Now for the people who've never purchased before, email 4 is all about the incentive. Now, the goal here is simple. Push hesitant shoppers to finally take action by giving them an extra reason to buy now. So we do this with a limited time incentive that creates urgency and makes that first time purchase feel easier. And here's what to include here. So first, once again, use a dynamic product block to remind them of the item they were looking at and keep it relevant. Next, add a time-sensitive incentive, so this could be a discount, free shipping, or even a bonus gift, something that basically feels valuable but also limited. Then highlight a few of your best-selling products. These act as safe, popular choices that make the purchase decision less risky. And finally, wrap it up with a strong call to action that drives urgency and pushes them to act before the offer expires. So this way, you're not just reminding them, you're giving them the little push they need to convert into first-time buyers. Email 5 is the last chance plus check-in email. This is the final touch point in the flow, and the goal here is to give one last nudge. We do that by keeping it personal, offering help, and reminding them their incentive is about to expire. Okay, so here's what to include. First, offer help. Ask if they have any questions or if they need support picking the right product. Make it feel like a real person reaching out. Next, remind them of the incentive. So whether it's a discount, free shipping, or a bonus gift, make it crystal clear it's ending soon. And finally, create urgency. So let them know that this is truly their last chance to claim the offer. And that wraps up the structure of the browse abandonment flow. Now, there's one important point you need to keep in mind when setting this up. Make sure Klaviyo and Shopify are connected and the viewed product tracking is enabled. So if the viewed product tracking isn't turned on, Klaviyo won't know when a visitor views a product on your store. As a result, the browse abandonment flow won't trigger at all since it relies on that event data. So to check this, just go to your Klaviyo account, click on integrations over here in the left-hand menu and open your Shopify integration. From there, make sure the box for add viewed product tracking to my site is checked, just like this. If not, just simply enable it from here. Finally, to bring it all together, let's take a look at some real browse abandonment flow email examples. Okay, so first let's take a look at this email from Hey Bud and why it's such a great first browse abandonment email. Right at the top, it shows the exact product the shopper viewed. That's huge because it makes the email feel personal and directly connected to what they were already interested in. Next, check out the copy. It's playful but still persuasive. Then notice how they add soft reinforcement of trust and benefits. For example, highlighting free shipping. This really matters because sometimes just reminding someone of the product isn't enough. You need to give them an extra reason to feel comfortable coming back. And finally, they use a smart fallback strategy. In case the shopper lost interest in that original product, they showcase bestsellers and other popular items too. So that way the customer has multiple paths to purchase, not just one, but overall this email nails it. Now the next email, this email from Those, is a great example of a second browse abandonment email, and it's basically all about building trust. So the first thing you notice is the dynamic product reminder right at the top. Just like in the first email, it immediately shows the exact product the shopper was looking at. Then look at the copy. It emphasizes safety and credibility by explaining that the formulas are developed by health professionals and backed by years of expertise. That instantly reassures the shopper that this is a product and a brand they can trust. So the email also highlights unique selling points by breaking down the high quality ingredients and their benefits, which makes the product feel even more valuable. Now overall, this one does a great job of combining trust, credibility, and social proof, basically everything you want. Okay, next we're going to dive into two more core flows you absolutely need to have in place, and that's the abandonment cart and the abandoned checkout flows. Okay, so what is abandoned cart? An abandoned cart checkout flow is a series of automated emails sent to shoppers who added items to their cart but didn't complete purchase. It's designed to remind them of what they left behind, overcome any hesitation they might have, and encourage them to come back and just finish their purchase. So this is one of the highest converting flows in e-commerce because the shopper has already shown strong buying intent. They just basically need a nudge to complete the purchase. Okay, so why is it important? Over 70% of online shopping carts are abandoned nowadays, and in most cases, those customers never return to complete their purchase, costing your store tens, if not hundreds of thousands in lost revenue. So if you're like most brands running paid ads to drive traffic, that hurts even more. You've already paid good money to bring these people to your site. So if you want to stay profitable, you can't afford to lose customers who are this close to converting. As you can see in this image, you're literally burning money if you don't have an abandoned cart and abandoned checkout flow set up. Okay, next we're going to cover something really important here. Here's the deal. Most e-commerce brands think they have a cart abandonment flow, but in reality they don't. Now, in fact, over 80% of the brands I audited are missing a true abandonment cart flow. So what they actually have is a checkout abandonment flow, which gets triggered when someone starts the checkout process but doesn't complete it. The confusion comes from the fact that Klaviyo's default abandonment cart flow is misleading. It's labeled as abandoned cart, but it actually triggers when someone initiates checkout, not when they simply add an item to their cart. So to make the difference clear, here's a visual. Now, here's the abandoned cart. The abandoned cart flow is triggered when someone clicks the add to cart button but leaves before reaching the checkout page. Now, the abandoned checkout flow, on the other hand, is triggered when someone lands on the checkout page but doesn't complete their purchase. And don't get me wrong, the abandonment checkout flow is super important, but it's not the same as a true cart abandonment flow. So if you want to maximize recoveries and revenue, you need both in place. So now keep in mind, in most cases you use the same structure and content for both flows. So for the rest of the video, whenever I say cart abandonment flow, I'm also talking about the checkout abandonment flow. The only difference between the two is the trigger. Alright, now let's take a look at the structure of these flows. As you can see, we're starting by splitting this flow between existing customers and new prospects. So the reason is simple. We want to protect our margins while still giving returning customers a more personalized experience. So first, let's walk through the emails that people who've never purchased from you before will receive. So email 1, this is the reminder plus brand USPs. The goal of this email is simple: bring the shopper back while the purchase is still fresh in their mind. So here's what you need to include. Start with a clear reminder. Let them know they left something behind. Add a strong call to action right above the fold so it's impossible to miss. Use a dynamic product block to show the exact items they left in their cart. Highlight a few product or brand benefits, so this gives them reasons to feel good about buying. And finally, add some social proof or risk reversals like reviews, money back guarantees, or easy returns. So this email is all about striking while the intent is still high and making sure it's super easy for them to come back and complete the purchase. Okay, so email 2, this is the simple nudge plus risk reversal, and the goal here is to give shoppers the reassurance they need to move forward. So basically you're saying, hey, you've got nothing to lose. So this email builds confidence with things like guarantees, hassle-free returns, or satisfaction promises. And here's what to include. So emphasize your risk reversals, whether that's a money-back guarantee, free returns, or even a product warranty. We need to show the items they left behind using a dynamic product block so it feels personal and relevant, and add a strong call to action: complete your order risk-free. So this email is all about removing hesitation and giving them that extra boost of confidence to finish their purchase. Okay, now email 3, this is social proof. The goal here is to build trust and remove hesitation by showing that real people have already bought and loved your product. When shoppers see others had a great experience, it gives them the confidence to complete their purchase. Now, what you need to include here is keep your messaging focused on building confidence and addressing common concerns. So use a dynamic product block to remind them of the exact items they left behind. Showcase customer reviews that highlight the product's value and directly address any doubts or objections they might have. This email works because it leverages proof from other buyers, and nothing is more reassuring than seeing real people happy with their purchase. So after the third email, we split the flow based on order value, and here's why. If the customer's cart is above the free shipping threshold, we want to remind them they qualify for free shipping. If it's below the threshold, we don't mention it. So really the only difference between the two paths is whether or not the free shipping benefit gets highlighted. Okay, so now email 4, this is the incentive. So the goal of this one is to give hesitant shoppers that final push by offering a limited time discount, and the urgency is what drives them to act. So here's what to include. Start with a headline that creates urgency and clearly highlights the offer. Show the items they leave behind with a dynamic product block so it feels personal and relevant. And really emphasize that the offer is time sensitive. Make sure they know it's only available for a limited time. Okay, now email 5, this is the incentive reminder. Now the goal of this email is to create a strong sense of urgency around the discount. So this is their final chance to buy here. So here's what to include. Start with a headline and copy that emphasize urgency. Be specific about when the deal ends. The clearer the time pressure, the better. And of course, show the exact items they left behind using a dynamic product block so it feels more personal and relevant. Okay, email 6, this is the plain text check-in email. This is the very last email in the flow, and the goal is to give one final nudge while keeping it personal. So here's how it works. Send a simple plain text message, ideally from the founder or customer support. This makes it feel personal, like a real check-in. So offer them a final chance to use the discount. If you want to add urgency, create a unique coupon code that's only valid for 12 to 24 hours, and let them know they can reply directly if they have any last-minute questions or need help choosing. Now finally, include a simple hyperlink that takes them right back to their cart. Now for returning customers, the flow looks a little different. We'll only send 3 emails here. So the first one is a simple reminder, just like the one we already talked about. The second focuses on risk reversal and social proof. And the third is a plain text email from the founder offering support. The difference is in the messaging. So for those people, we tweak the tone slightly to acknowledge that they're returning customers, so the experience feels more personal for them. So finally, to bring it all together, let's check out some real abandoned cart email examples. Here are 2 great examples from Bloom. This first one is a great example for email 1. So right at the top, there's a simple reminder about abandonment, super clear and straight to the point. Immediately after, they showcase the abandoned product so the shopper sees exactly what they left behind. Then notice what comes next. They include their money back guarantee, which works as a risk reversal, and they also add social proof with a before and after image. Overall, it's a really strong example, clean, clear, and effective. Here we have another strong example from Bloom, this one for the risk reversal email. So right at the top, they lead with their risk reversal by offering a 100% money back guarantee that instantly removes hesitation. And just below that, they showcase the abandoned items again, and with a strong call to action, making it easy to jump back in. And finally, they reinforce everything with compelling social proof, showing that other customers have had a great experience. And that's it for the abandoned cart flow. Next, we're going to dive into the post-purchase flow. Okay, so what is the post-purchase flow? It's an automated sequence of emails that goes out right after someone buys from you. The goal here isn't just to say thank you. The real goal is to turn a one-time buyer into a repeat customer. So in short, it's all about improving the customer's experience in those first 30 days so they can come back for more instead of forgetting about you. So why is it important? In 2025, a lot of brands struggle to make a profit on the first sale, and their real profit often comes from their repeat customers. So this makes retention one of the most important levers for driving profitable growth. And here's the truth. Your post-purchase flow is where you make or break your retention. It's your best opportunity to eliminate buyer's remorse, help customers adopt the product, and build a habit around using it so they're more likely to come back and buy again. So for your brand, that means better retention, more repeat purchases, and growth that doesn't depend on increasing ad spend. Now, before we dive into the actual emails, I want to mention something important. So our post-purchase experience is split into 2 flows, each triggered by a different event. A common mistake I see is that most people trigger their post-purchase flow as soon as an order is placed and then build everything from there. So to ensure we're sending the right message at the right time, we split the post-purchase experience into 2 flows. So the first flow is triggered immediately after the order is placed. So this includes a thank you email and a follow-up cross-sell email. And the second flow is triggered once the order is fulfilled. So this way we avoid sending certain emails too early, especially in cases where shipping is delayed. So in that way we ensure a smooth customer experience. So first we're going to go through the post-purchase placed order flow. As you can see in this email flow, we're splitting the messaging based on how many purchases the customer has already made. So the tone and content shift slightly to make it feel more personal. For example, you might thank second-time buyers for coming back or let third-time buyers know they're getting close to VIP status. Now, the goal of the first email is pretty straightforward. So thank the customer for their purchase, reassure them that they made the right choice, and gently encourage them to order again, all while keeping the message personal and thoughtful. So here's what to include. Start by thanking them for their purchase. Remind them of your brand's mission and values so they feel connected to something bigger. Offer support if they need any help with the product. And finally, give them a soft nudge toward a repeat purchase. Next, we have the placed order cross-sell email. So the goal here is simple: upsell another product to the customer. Right after someone makes a purchase, they're at their most engaged. So it's the perfect time to encourage them to buy again. In this email, you want to promote complementary products to what they just purchased. And here's why this matters. About 75% of customers never come back for a second purchase, and that's a big number. So you want to capture as much extra margin as you can while they're still excited about your brand. And here's what to include. So start by acknowledging their recent purchase, offer product recommendations that pair well with it. Optionally, you can add a limited time incentive, but don't worry, if you'd rather not discount, that's fine too. Don't forget to also split test the timing of the second email. For example, you could test sending it out 1 hour after the first email versus 1 day later, and then see which one performs best for your audience. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples so you can see how this works in action. Here's a good example of the first post-purchase email. As you can see, it's super simple and straightforward. It thanks the customer for the purchase they just made and then offers a few additional products they could add to their order. And honestly, that's basically all you need. Don't overcomplicate this email. Keep it clear, keep it personal, and it'll do the job. And right after that, here's another great example of a second cross-sell email. So this email promotes a complementary product at a low price point. It adds urgency with a 60-minute timer and even includes a discount code to push quick action. So all of that combined makes it really effective for driving a second purchase while the customer is still excited from their recent one. Now, for this type of email, you've got two options. Option 1, split the flow on what someone purchased and then offer complementary products. Option 2, if you don't want to go that deep, you can just showcase a few of your best sellers instead. Personally, I'd recommend splitting the flows and going with complementary products because it feels more relevant and personalized, but at the end, it's up to you. All right, let's jump into the second post-purchase flow. This one gets triggered right after the order is fulfilled, and this is the post-purchase order fulfilled flow. So the flow structure, email 1 in this sequence is all about eliminating buyer's remorse and building excitement. So the goal here is to reassure the customer that they made the right choice while also letting them know their package is on the way. And here's how to do it. First, build excitement for the delivery. Make them look forward to getting their order. Next, focus on eliminating any buyer's remorse they might feel. So you can do that by showing reviews that highlight real customer success, addressing common FAQs, or reinforcing the key benefits of your product. You can also use a simple comparison that shows how your product stacks up against the competition and why they made the smarter choice by buying from you. Okay, so email 2 is all about adoption and education. So the goal here is simple. Give your customers the tools they need to have the best possible experience with their product. Because the truth is, the more they actually use it, the more likely they are to stick around and buy again. Now, here's where it gets even more powerful. In this email, we split based on the specific product or collection the customer bought. So that way the content feels personal and directly relevant to what they ordered. Now here's what to include: a clear, actionable product tips that help them get started right away, step-by-step instructions on how to use their product, guidance on how to be successful with it, so what to expect and how to get the best results, and finally, care tips so they can maintain the product over time. Email 3 is the push to social email. The goal here is to get your customers to follow your main social media channels. And there are a few reasons why this is so important. First, it helps extend engagement beyond just email. Second, it builds more trust through social proof. And third, it keeps your brand top of mind. Plus, here's the reality. At some point, whether you like it or not, people are going to stop opening your emails. So by connecting them on social, you create another touch point for future conversations. So here's what to include in this email. Invite them to follow your main social channels and explain what they'll get out of it. Things like exclusive updates, useful content, and being part of your community. So next up is the repeat purchase email. So here we're going to split the messaging again. So for first-time buyers, we'll include a small incentive to encourage that crucial second purchase. And for repeat buyers, instead of offering another discount, we'll send a simple check-in email, just a thoughtful touch point to keep the relationship strong. Now, why is it this important? And here's the harsh truth for this. More than 80% of customers don't return for a second purchase. So most of them drop off within 30 to 60 days after their first order. And once they fall out of the buying cycle, it becomes much harder to re-engage them. And the goal here of this email is to turn the first-time buyers into repeat customers before they churn. Because when you convert a first-time buyer into a second-time buyer, you dramatically increase the chances of a third, fourth, or even fifth purchase. And to make this happen, a time-sensitive offer can work really well. I know you might feel hesitant to give another discount, but considering the long-term impact it can have on future purchases, it's worth it. So here's what to include for first-time buyers. Acknowledge their experience and excitement with the product. Make them feel part of your community. Introduce a limited time discount, so for example 10% off. Create urgency with a clear deadline, like valid for the next 48 hours. And finally, future bestsellers or top categories to make it easy for them to choose. And email 5, this is the last chance plus check-in. The goal of this one is to provide a personal check-in from the founder. So it's about making sure the customer had a great experience with their order, offering support if they need it, and at the same time giving a final reminder about their discount. So here's what to include here. So we need to include a personal check-in from the founder, and we need to keep it casual and human. Acknowledge their recent purchase so it feels personal. Offer support if they have any questions or need help, and then add a clear reminder that the discount is about to expire in the next 24 hours. Finally, include a strong call to action with their code so they can take advantage of the offer before it's gone. And that's it for the structure of the post-purchase flow. Now let's check out a couple of examples so you can see how this works in practice. Here's a strong example of the first post-purchase email. This one's from La Repubblica. So right at the top, you've got the bold headline, "Your order is on the way." That paired with over 4,000 positive reviews instantly builds excitement and reinforces trust in the product. The copy itself highlights the benefits, which is smart because it helps eliminate buyers' remorse by reminding customers of the value they're getting. And they've also added a clear visual showing the transformation customers can expect. So this makes the benefits feel real and easy to imagine. And finally, the email wraps up with a strong 5-star review that tackles common concerns, so things like jitters or taste. So it's a great mix of excitement, reassurance, and trust building, exactly what you want in that first email. So here's a strong example of the first post-purchase email. This one's from La Repubblica. So right at the top, you've got the bold headline, "Your order is on the way." That paired with over 4,000 positive reviews instantly builds excitement and reinforces trust in the product. The copy itself highlights the benefits, which is smart because it helps eliminate buyer's remorse by reminding customers of the value they're getting. They've also added a clear visual showing the transformation customers can expect. This makes the benefits feel real and easy to imagine. And finally, the email wraps up with a strong 5-star review that tackles common concerns, things like jitters or taste. It's a great mix of excitement, reassurance, and trust building, and exactly what you want in the first email. Okay, now here's another great example. This one's from HeyBud, and it's a product adoption email. The email shows customers exactly how to use their clay mask by breaking it down into clear sections with simple step-by-step instructions. So each tip is actionable and easy to follow, which helps customers get the most out of their product. And this is really important for retention, because the truth is the best retention tool isn't another discount, it's product usage. So when customers actually start using what they bought and see results, they're way more likely to come back. And if your product is more straightforward and doesn't really require usage instructions, you can still provide care tips. That way you're supporting their experience and keeping them engaged with your brand. And that wraps up the core flows you need to have in place, but we're not done yet, because next we're going to cover something really important, and that's how to optimize your flows over time and which A/B tests you should be running to keep improving the results. Okay, so the initial setup I shared is just a starting point. Every brand is different, and what works for one might not work so well for another. That's why ongoing testing and optimization is crucial. So if you want to drive more repeat purchases, A/B testing isn't optional, it's essential. Below are just a few examples of smart tests you can run to take your flow from good to great. All right, so important A/B tests to run. First, your offer. The offers you have will have the greatest impact on the performance of your flows. So in some cases, it can even double your revenue. So that's why it's important to A/B test different offers and find the one that resonates best with your audience. To your offer timing, in the abandon checkout and browse abandonment flows, test when to introduce the first incentive. So example, email 2 versus email 4. Too early and you give away margin unnecessarily, too late and you risk losing sale. The goal is to find the sweet spot that maximizes profitable conversions. Now 3 subject lines in preview texts, another simple but high impact A/B test you can run. Time delays in between emails, so 1 day versus 2 days. Text-based emails versus graphic-based emails. This is another high impact A/B test. In many cases you might find that text-based emails actually perform better. And if you're an e-commerce brand and want help setting up these core flows, my team and I can build them for you. That way you'll maximize retention, boost revenue, and get the most out of every customer. So you'll find the link to book a call in the description down below. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to help. You can also follow me on socials for more tips, insights, and practical guides. I have put the links to my socials in the document down below, so feel free to check that out. And thank you.